Customs, get your customs. Come on, you better create cards right.
No offense, but that's just lame.
This video marks the start of GX custom card showcases, and what better way to zoom right in than with Vehicroids. The Vehicroid archetype is used by Sho, aka Syrus, the best friend to the protagonist. If you've ever read the children's book, The Little Engine That Could, that basically sums up the concept behind giving the unconfident pushover duelist a deck revolving around Pixar-inspired vehicles. The Vehicroid archetype is somewhat extensive, but not in a good way. Given that most of the support came out in the GX era where archetypes were still finding their footing, we understandably have to deal with a bunch of cards that seemingly belong to the same archetype, but lack any sort of synergy. Case in point in the archetype fusion spell Vehicroid Connection Zone, which doesn't even allow you to bring out all the archetype fusions. Now, as far as the old stuff goes, it's not all bad. A card like Expressroid is an easy +1 on summon, netting you back 2 Roid monsters from your grave. The aforementioned fusion spell grants your fusion monsters summon protection from effect destruction and prevents its effects from being negated. 2 pretty strong protections. The newer stuff released in 2017 and onward is the start of more cohesion. A card like Megaroid City can net you a search per turn of any Roid City at the cost of destroying one card you control. Emergeroid Call is the archetypal omni-negating counter trap, and Mixeroid can grab you any Roid monster from your deck as long as it's not a wind monster. Side note, along the Vehicroid journey, Konami in their infinite wisdom decided to create another Roid archetype that are all wind attributes, so nowadays much of Vehicroid support comes with that, except wind monster stipulation. Mixeroid also provides the archetype a second way to fusion summon, this way actually letting you bring out any of the Roid fusions, though at the cost of half your life points and only lasting until the end phase. And then finally we have another searcher, Dragonroid, which can be pitched from your hand to either grab a non-wind Roid monster from your deck or grant your fusion effects protection from negation for the turn. In my opinion, the new support still doesn't put the archetype on an obvious track. I came across a comment by someone else on Reddit that summed up Vehicroids nicely. Individually, they have an effect for every situation, but collectively, they do nothing. As far as we can tell, the super generic goal of the deck is to fusion summon, which makes sense since it's a GX era deck. With the custom support, we can clean this up some more to make it so that Vehicroids work in tandem together, whether that be through their effects or through fusion summoning into bosses. It's still a pretty generic premise, but this archetype is more so tied in their design than in playstyle. The other thing going for Vehicroids is that there still is a lot of source material to work with. A ton of manga and anime exclusive cards still out there that can be adapted to make this deck function more cohesively, so the custom support will focus on that. Kicking off the monster lineup are 4 new main deck monsters, starting with Turboroid, a pesky Windroid that won't be grabbable by Mixeroid and Dragonroid, but hold that thought. If this guy is sent to the grave to activate the effect of a non-speed Roid card, even during the damage step, he'll let you search a Roid spell or trap from your deck. So the way that works with the existing support includes the second effect of Megaroid City, or tributing him for Mixeroid's effect, and then 2 other cards in the custom support. His other effect is letting you special summon a level 6 or lower non-speed Roid monster from your hand, so for all you purists who insist on running UFO Roid, there you go. True to his name, his effect allows you to turbo through some of the combos the deck has. Next is Launcheroid, who can once per turn equip a Roid monster from hand or grave to it that gives it 1000 attack. And then you can make use of the Roid cards equipped to it when a Roid card you control is targeted for an attack or effect by sending the equipped card to the grave to target a card on the field and destroy it. So A, this is another way to trigger Turboroid's first effect, and then B, you don't even have to wait for your opponent to target your cards. You could use a card like Megaroid City to target himself, he'll send Turboroid to the grave, Megaroid pops him, you get a search there, and then a second search with Turbo. Next is Kiteroid. If he's added to your hand by a card effect, he can be special summoned, so that includes your Megaroid and Dragonroid in archetype. His second effect is Prisma-like, where he sends a non-speed Roid monster from deck to grave as a cost to take on its name and attribute until the end phase. And then his third effect is based on his anime effect, where you can banish him from grave to turn the battle damage from a direct attack to 0. So this guy's arguably the new face of the deck. First off, he's light, so he can be grabbed by Dragon or Mix, and then once you have him, you can send Turbo to the grave, which will then net you a Roid spell or trap, say Megaroid City, which can then pop him and search you another Roid card. So a decent amount of setup for whichever fusion play you want to make. Final main deck monster is Motorcycroid. This guy, like a motorcycle, is quick. He can special summon from hand if you control a different Roid monster other than Speedroids, and then he can help your Roid cards dodge your opponent's attempts to negate them by tributing himself. So a nifty little way to get around hand traps and other negation. Can also be paired with Machine Dupe to get your Roid cards around up to 3 disruptions against your opponent's disruptions. Going into the fusions, we have 3, starting with Super Vehicroid Sky Patrol. Yes, I'm going to be stubborn and still make you play the old Roids. His materials are Patroid and 1 non-Speedroid Wind Roid monster. Once per turn, you can target 1 set card on the field and destroy it, then return 1 Roid monster from your grave to your hand. Set cards cannot be activated in response to the activation of this effect. His other effect is in battle. Once per turn, when an attack is declared involving him, you can change that opponent's monster it's battling to face down defense. Next up is a fusion of 2 of the new guys, Launcheroid and Turboroid, and that is Super Vehicroid Rocket Launcher. When special summoned from the extra deck, you can return 3 of your banished Roid monsters to the grave to target 2 cards on the field and destroy them. So this works really well with Mixed Roid in 2 ways, because you need to banish 7 with Mix to bring him out, and then since his trigger is just being special summoned from the extra deck and not specifically fusion summoned, you can trigger his effect to return 3 of the ones you just banished, then pop 2 cards on the field. His other effect is that once per turn during your standby phase, you can target 1 Roid monster in your grave and add it to your hand. So this will get you started on more Kiteroid plays, or if you're cool like me and run Ambulance Roid, start swarming the field some more. Final fusion is the boss of the deck, Super Vehicroid Omniroid, who takes 5 non-Speedroid Roid monsters with different names. Unlike what his name and typical boss monster trends may suggest, he is not an Omni-Negator. Instead, he is an Omni-Destroyer, because when he battles, you can destroy all face-up monsters on the field with less attack than him, then destroy the same number of spells and traps on the field. He also comes with targeting protection, so if you can bring him out with Connection Zone, you'll also give him destruction protection and prevention from having his effect negated. The one spell of the custom lineup is the Manga exclusive Ultimate Machine Union, renamed to Ultimate Vehicroid Union so that it can be searched by all the Roid searchers. This fusion summons using monsters from the grave, so another way to fuel up Rocket Launcher's effect. Also lines up with Judah and Kaiser, who each have a fusion spell that uses monsters from the grave, though in their case those cards can also be used from the field. Though Sho is not quite on their level, so I'm just going to keep with the actual text from the manga and keep it to materials from the grave only. Alright, now to go through a demonstration of some of these new cards, we're going to open up with Motorcycroid, Launcheroid, Mixroid, Fusion Deployment, and Patroid. We will first start normal summoning Mixroid. Before we use its effect, we're going to special summon that Motorcycroid from our hand so that if our opponent tries to hand trap our Mixroid, our Motorcycroid will help us get around that. Use Mixroid's effect, tribute itself to special summon a non-wind Roid monster from our deck. We'll grab Kiteroid. Use Kiteroid's effect to send a Roid monster, except a speed Roid monster from deck to grave. So that'll be Turboroid. So now Kiteroid takes on the name Turboroid and wind attribute until the end of the turn. And we can now trigger Turboroid's effects until sent to the grave to activate the effect of a Roid card. We will use it to search out Megaroid City. To activate that Megaroid City, use its effect to destroy a card we control. We'll destroy the Kiteroid, and we will hold that thought. Let's actually use Fusion Deployment first. We'll reveal Super Vehicroid Stealth Union and bring out Expressroid. Use Expressroid's effect on summon, grab 2 Roid monsters back from the grave. So let's get Turboroid and Mixroid. Now we'll use Megaroid City's effect, getting rid of Expressroid to search out Vehicroid Connection Zone. So technically we have enough to go into our big boss since we have 5 different Roid monsters. But let's first go with a smaller guy. We'll bring out the Super Vehicroid Sky Patrol. So since Kiteroid is being treated as a wind monster for the rest of the turn, we can bring him out with Patroid and 1 wind Roid monster. So this would be especially better if we were going second. We could start popping our opponent's set cards, be able to get rid of their threats in battle as well. And then Vehicroid Connection Zone provides a protection from being destroyed by card effects, and also its effects can't be negated. Open up with the second hand. We will use Dragonroid, pitch it to grab Kiteroid. Since Kiteroid is added to our hand, we can special summon it right away. Now we can use its effect to send a Roid monster from deck to grave. We will send Motorcycroid, so it'll take on the name Motorcycroid and be treated as an Earth attribute for the turn. Since it has less than 500 attack and is named Motorcycroid, we can use Machine Dupe to bring out 2 more copies of Motorcycroid. So this works actually really well with any of the Roid monsters. Since this can take on any of their names and has less than 500 attack, you could bring out basically any 2 of your other Roid monsters. So even Dragonroid, if you took on the name Dragonroid, you could then bring out 2 2900 attack beat 6. So a little nifty trick right there. Now we've got, with Motorcycroid, 2 protections against our opponent's disruptions. We'll normal summon Turboroid, use its effect to special summon a level 6 or lower Roid monster from our hand. We'll bring out Mixroid in defense. Use Mixroid's effect, tributing Turboroid to special summon a Roid monster from our deck. That'll be Ambulanceroid. Like I said, I love the OGs. Turboroid, since it hits the grave, being used as a cost for a Roid effect. We can use its effect to search out a Roid spell or trap. That'll be Megaroid City again. To activate that, use its effect, get rid of our Kiteroid to search out Vehicroid Connection Zone. We'll now use Fusion Deployment, again reveal the Stealth Union to special summon Expressroid. If we had gone through some other plays or gone about this differently, we'd be able to combo our Expressroid and Ambulanceroid, being able to add back 2 Roid monsters from our grave and then special summon them both thanks to Ambulanceroid, but that's not the play that we necessarily need right now, just an option that the deck has. So let's grab back Dragonroid and Turboroid to set up our plays on the next turn. And now we've got 5 different Roid monsters to fusion summon with. We will bring out our big boss, Super Vehicroid Omniroid. So again, he has targeting protection already built in, and then thanks to Connection Zone, he now has destruction protection, as well as the fact that his effects can't be negated. We're not done yet, though. We can use Mixroid's Graveyard ability to banish 7 Roid monsters and bring out the Super Vehicroid Rocket Launcher. If we were going second, this would make a lot more sense, because then we could use its effect to put 3 of the banished Roid monsters back into the grave and then destroy 2 cards on the field. But just showcasing the ease with which you can go through many of the fusion monsters and the options that this deck now has with this new custom support. So that does it for the first of the GX batch, the Vehicroids. Hope you enjoyed. My goal for the GX era is to showcase an archetype every other week, which I know is a step back from the DM era, which started at 3 a week and then 1 a week. Early on, I was working with a bigger stockpile of finished content, so I was able to manage that rapid pace, but worry not, because on the alternating weeks, you'll still get your fix of customs, because on those weeks, I will be reviewing your custom cards. So 1 week, it'll be my customs, and then the next week, it'll be your customs. This, of course, assumes there are enough submissions, so be sure to submit with this link that you can also find in the description. You can submit archetypes of up to 10 cards, and single card submissions are great as well. And then make sure you're subscribed to this channel and join the Discord link in the description so you can keep up with all things custom Yu-Gi-Oh! As for me, in 2 weeks, something will happen.